we were talking about prepping an area to put a pad in.
A vertical platform lift pad,
a vertical platform lift. Is that it? Cause with all the Chicago bungalows and the way things are compacted here in the city, right? You know, you go out in the suburbs, you got a little more room, a lot more room. Right. But in the city, you're on top of your neighbors. In most communities, these are I'm just trying to give our listeners a visual of what we're talking about, right? It's the Chicago bungalow where you could reach out and touch your neighbor's house.
Yeah.
When you walk in between the alleyway or the gangway or whatever they call it.
It's tight.
It's tight.
Snug as a bug.
Not a lot of room.
Yeah.
Not a big front yard, not a big backyard.
Yep.
Right. So these are the areas that we're talking about installing these lifts. So you need what again? 10 foot by 5 foot.
So there's three things that we're always installing pretty much every time for a vertical platform lift to go in. It is, a porch area. So we need a 5x5 space that's even with your door threshold. So we're usually building a wood porch over your existing porch. And then the second thing is a concrete pad for the lift to sit on. It needs a solid base surface. So if you have existing concrete that's even, that's great. But a lot of times we are installing concrete. And the third thing is a dedicated circuit for electrical.
What happens when you don't have a dedicated circuit available?
There are companies that do that, but it's not to code. So you wouldn't be able to pull a permit to do that.
Sure. And
right?
you guys always do,
we always pull permits.
Okay.
We pull permits for every single lift install. There are companies out there that will pull permits just for the site prep. So they say they're pulling a permit, but they're really just pulling the permit for the deck and the concrete and the electrical.
So something to ask as a consumer, something to ask the company is, what types of permits do you pull? Right. And what types of inspections are going to be needed?
Right. Can you pull a permit for the installation of our vertical platform lift or our porch lift?
Sure.
And
the reason why contractors wouldn't do that is they need to be
an elevator contractor. They have to have a license.
There's not that many of them, right?
There's not that many of them. There's
exactly.
not. We are one of them, and we have licensed elevator technicians on site.
Sure.
On our staff, and that will install these lifts. But yeah, there's not a lot of companies out there like us that do that in the Chicagoland area, in Illinois or
So
Wisconsin.
any listener that's thinking about it, and if they're not calling Access, well, first call Access. But
yes,
if they're not and they're just calling a guy, like, I got a flyer that this guy does vertical lifts, right?
Yeah.
Like, ask them.
Ask them, can you pull a permit for the installation of the lift,
Got
not just the site prep, not
Sure.
just the deck, the concrete, and the electrical.
Got it. Okay.
And if they're not pulling a permit, they're not doing
They're
it.
probably not doing it to code.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're gonna have a person on there. So
yeah. So and that's the difference between so a stair lift is you can sit down on it and go up and down the stairs, right? But on a vertical platform lift, you can roll a wheel. It's fully ADA accessible. So somebody in a wheelchair can use this to get in and out of their home and get away from a fire, or get inside during a storm fairly quickly.
On their own.
All on their own. On their own. No, you don't need a caregiver to help you use the lift.